Okay, I got some things on this too.
It'd be nice to speak, but
Good afternoon, everybody. Nice and full. The carrot cake really looked good. I want you to know that it's fat-free, so there's no bad
Low cal fat.
yeah.
We have plenty of brochures and business cards if you need them. Like I said, my name is John Shook. That gentleman back there is my son. His name is John Shook also. John has been with Disney for 25 years. He's an electrical diver. He does all their underwater electrical, not all, but some of their underwater electrical issues. And he's on the troubleshooting team. He goes out and repairs rides and answers calls and things like that for Disney. I'm a ride inspector. I haven't been a ride inspector all my life. I've been other things. I didn't start out to be a ride inspector. I just kind of reared its ugly head one day. So anyway, I thought I'd go into it just a little bit. I know you don't really care how I got there, but just so you'll know that I got there honestly. I didn't go in the back door. But anyway, I made some notes. Looks like I made a lot. Boy, how much time do we have? I have a lot of notes here. Okay. I'm a QSI for state of California, which is a qualified safety inspector. I'm also a CPI, which is a certified portable inspector. It's a new position that the state offered, and I'm the first inspector that has both titles, basically. But I can do both portables and permanent for the state. The permanent title has been around since '02. The portables, they just started allowing independent inspectors like myself to start inspecting those. So that should be fun. My technique that I use when I inspect is I use a Brunson. I wrote that down wrong. A Brunton microscope. It's this. Oh, there it is, right there. Okay, this microscope. I'm going to talk about this first. So I'm going to pass it around. I've dropped this thing from about 20 feet a couple times, so it's not perfect, and the lenses are not clean. But this focuses within 18 inches. It focuses like your shoelace. You could go down and look at your shoe, or something as long as it's within 2 feet or longer, you can look at it. This comes out, and this is the focus. So you don't need glasses with it because it'll compensate for your eyes. Of course, you can look at the moon at it if you want to. But I look at this, anything that I can't reach, even things that I can reach, I can see it clearer with this, like welds. I'll see a human hair on a weld at 10 feet, and I'll think, is that a crack? This will tell me. Even at 20 feet, this will tell me. So this is one of my handy little tools, and I'll start it down here, and feel free to check it out. And use it or look at it. It's, I think, so good that I even bought it for some inspectors that are friends of mine. So anyway, there's that tool. One of my other tools is pink tape. Now you might think, I call this my bullets. And you go, you load your gun, your bullets. So anyway, the reason I use pink, and a lot of people use red or other colors. The reason I use pink, and I used to say, because 300-pound machinists don't like pink. So that's why I used it, because they were going to get it off the ride as quickly as possible by fixing whatever the problem was. But a 300-pound machinist walked up to me. He was actually 350. And he had on a pink shirt. He says, not all of us. So I've been using that analogy. So, okay. I have telescopes for like roller coasters, things of that nature that I don't want to climb. I have a 4-inch reflector, that I can count the legs on an ant at about 100 feet. It has different powers. It is just, it's like that. It's really, from 25 feet to 100 feet, I can grade bolts, whatever. You know, I can really tell what's out there. The next scope up is I have a little 60 power one, but it takes 25 feet to focus it, and it's not too good. But the next scope up is a 9 1/4 Schmidt Cassegrain. I can count the legs on an ant at 200 feet with that. So if there's any iffy things with my little 4-inch that I carry around, I can always set up the 9 1/4 and pretty much tell you if we've got to climb or do whatever we've got to do. I do a lot of climbing, rappelling. I bring hand tools and my trusty flashlight. I even sleep with my flashlight. I find myself, what is this? Middle of the night, you know, I'm carrying around my. So anyway, but it's a little 3-watt LED and I love it. Like I said, I sleep with it. So anyway, I started out as a millwright apprentice. My first safety-related issue, my boss says, pick up that shiv. It was a big pulley. I picked it up. I was a millwright apprentice at a mill. You know, the mill is 210 feet. So I picked up this pulley. I was about 19 or 20. He says, look up. I did, and there's this little stick sticking out of the building. He says, go hang that off that I-beam up there. Oh, okay. So I jump on a man lift. I get up there and drag it out to the I-beam. And I thought, wow, it's out about 6 feet. Well, 6 feet isn't very far, but I'm not going to walk it, that's for sure. The shiv is heavy. So I scooted along and I scoot my butt out there and I hang this, I bring the ring up, I clip it and I throw it over. Okay, I scoot back and my boss is standing behind me and he says, take this rope, thread it. So I scooted back out there, took the rope, threaded it, and brought it back in. And when I was out there, I thought, man, I could fall. You know, this looks dangerous to me. So, and this is in 62, I think, or 63, somewhere around that area. So anyway, I scoot back and he says, oh, by the way, see that rope? And I said, yeah, there's a rope coiled up there by the rail. He says, next time you go out there, tie that to your ass. So I thought, oh, okay. So I spent the next week trying to learn how to tie this rope to my body. And nothing worked. You know, I tie it and I pull on it and it hurt. You know? There's no way I can tie this and jump off that beam. It would cut me in half. You know? So about a week later, the boss said, go put on a harness and go give me that shiv. And so I went out in the cloak room and looked around and there's this harness. Oh, that's to tie the rope onto. Yeah, things work. So anyway, that was my first exposure to safety. And it took a little while before I really got it. But after I left the mill, I became the millwright is mechanical, electrical, all kinds of different disciplines, and I happen to like the electrical issues better because it was easier work. Let's face it. So I didn't have to drag all this heavy tools and stuff. But don't tell anyone I said that. So anyway, after the apprenticeship program, we went into construction. In 75, there was a recession again, or a recession in 75, and I had to go to work for a machine tool company. So I started troubleshooting NC machines. Back then, everything was paper tape, M codes, G codes. The control was a block of holes in a tape. And John, will you give me a glass of water? So anyway, the machine would read a block of tape and then that's what the function would do. It would go somewhere and do something or drill a hole, whatever. So I became an NC tech over a period of a few years, going to night school, going to different schools. And at the late 70s, oh great, thanks. Late 70s, I found myself at Ford Aerospace in Costa Mesa. I pretended that was a beer. No, that's better. So anyway, I was in Costa Mesa, and I was an NC supervisor in maintenance. We were building bombs and missiles, let's face it. So my boss came to me, and we were talking about safety, and I related to him that I'd gone to a Hamilton Standard Electron Beam School, and they recommended that safety was done this way for the EB welders and things. So he said, well, you know quite a bit about this. You're going to be our safety supervisor. So anyway, I was the safety supervisor over the small NC group. We had to deal with things like magnesium and different exotic metals and stuff. So we learned that. One day, after a very short time, my wife comes home from work, and she says, do you like building bombs and missiles? I'm just there for the money. You know, I don't particularly like building bombs and missiles. She says, well, why don't you go do something you want to do? So anyway, I thought about this. What, you know, that never had crossed my little pea brain before, you know, to do something I wanted to do. And I'm sure all of you guys have had this same, no, maybe not. So I thought, I looked around, and Disney was hiring people to convert relay logic, convert hardwired rides, the hardwired stuff, the relay logic, to PLC, to computer. So I thought, oh man, that's right up my alley. So I went to work for Disney, and Disney Imagineering, they were busy doing Space Mountain and doing Big Thunder and doing all these big rides, but nobody was doing the dark rides. So that's why they hired me. One of the engineers, his name was Mel Black, and I converted all the dark rides to PLC, to computer. And we did the code, did everything. Well, it wasn't too long that WDI thought, well, hey, this guy's pretty smart. So they hired me as a supervisor in WDI. So I spent a couple of years there, and then I went back and formed a control systems group in the sound and electrical. And I worked out of the sound department for a number of years, until the late 80s. But anyway, during this time, we knew we had the tip of the iceberg as far as the control, the safety, any safety issues with numerical control stuff, with like a roller coaster, Space Mountain, Big Thunder. We were safe, or maybe not where it wasn't. So we offered to share our technology. I thought that was nice of Disney. So we did share our technology with Universal and Knox and a few other. And all it was basically was dual processing. One computer looked at the other, and they had disagreements, and they were only allowed to do so much before they stopped their ride. But that's why it broke down so much. That's good. Well, anyway, it wasn't too long after that they made me a supervisor, and then a duty manager or facilities one type guy. He's the guy that kind of runs the park when it's open. So I like second shift because I had an electrical business during the day. So anyway, I like second shift, so I became the second shift facilities one, or duty manager, whatever you want to call it, maintenance one, and ran the park. Well, I kind of liked that because I wasn't responsible for anything. You know, when I'd go home, I didn't have to think about coming in and doing maintenance and stuff, but I was still responsible for like PMs and things of that nature. So we did Fantasyland, we did the PMs in Fantasyland. One of my supervisors came to me and said, John, the electricians don't want to clean the slip rings anymore at King Arthur's Carousel. So I thought, yeah, right. You know, because they were, as Dan will attest, they were under the main gear, and they were dripping with black grease all the time. And we had these big brushes, and it was a flat bus. I said, yeah, but they're going to do it anyway. We rotated them. Once a week, somebody had to get up there and clean. It was a couple-hour job, whatever. They said, well, we don't want to do that anymore. We want to draw lotteries. I said, what do you mean draw lotteries? He said, well, they'll put everybody's name in a hat, and everybody will draw a month. So I said, if everyone buys into it, you know, fine. As long as we can get everybody to buy into it. A week later, everybody bought into it, and we did a lottery. So I don't know where that went until Dan got rid of it. But, that was.
Still have the collector.
I wish I'd have known. I would have burned it for you. Things that were interesting that came out of PMs, and that we did Space Mountain, all the hardware, the relays, the power, the buses, everything. Once a year we'd go in and tighten everything up because there was a lot of vibration and noise. We had a big up system. There's a big UPS. And it was one of the first ones that was ever created, and we had a lot of problems with it. So we'd go in and tighten everything up in it. So I told the foreman, I said, I want you to tighten this up every year on the PM. But let me know the first year you go through here and not get something tight. You know, let me know when it's all. So anyway, 7 years later, he walked into my office and he says, guess what? I said, what? He said, we just did Space Mountain PM, the tightening of the electrical equipment, the apparatus. I said, okay, great. He says, no, we didn't tighten anything. Everything was rock solid. 7 years it took to tighten that up. That's amazing. We did some total electric homes, used some aluminum wire, and I know it was 6 years before I, could almost not hit it. It took that much to compress that. That was amazing. Well, anyway, so much for Space Mountain. Oh yes, I forgot about that. Before long, they made me a safety chairman. They gave me a green hard hat with a Mickey Mouse, and I chaired the safety committee. Well, it was ran by a secretary, and she says, I don't want you to do anything, just sit up there and sign the checks. Oh, okay. So after about a year, I decided to get involved in, what are we doing? She's running everything, she's training everybody, training the trainers, and I thought, I really need to know what she's doing. So I got involved, and I was chairman for 2 more years after that. But I had my own agenda. I wanted to do Park Dark. That's where we kick everybody out of the park. We shut on all the lights. We wait till the generators come on. We see what works, what doesn't, what the transfer switches, whether they work or not, what blows fuses, what trips circuit breakers. And we document all this because what we've done is we built this building, put a generator in, and did all this individually. We had a lot of individual power supplies, a lot of individual transfer switches. So we basically did an audit of all that. What worked? Battery systems that's supposed to light this light for 30 minutes, 10 minutes the light was out. So we knew we had a lot of work to do. The way I got to do that was I had a pretty good budget, and the safety budget went into stuff like that, and rightly so. We thought, what if we have an earthquake? Well, we've got all these resources in Anaheim. No, we don't, because if you have a big major earthquake, those resources are going to be somewhere else. They're not going to be coming to Disneyland. They're going to be going to City Hall, going somewhere else. So the odds are you're not going to have those resources that you may think you have. So I said, let's buy some trailers, let's stock it with equipment, let's stock it with food, let's be able to support 50,000 people for 2 or 3 days if we have to. And restrooms and the whole bit. And if we have to have equipment on site to suck and dump, and as far as plumbing was concerned, then that's what we have to do. We have to have it available in case of an emergency. So we set all those things up while I was tenure of the safety program, which was fun. I loved it. So I kind of got into safety. I finally started knowing what I was doing. Okay. Same way with PMs for Space Mountain. I told them, this floor has got to be clean. When we shut the ride down or close the ride up in the morning, we open the gas. I don't want anything on this floor. I don't want a washer. Midnight when we closed the ride, we opened the doors. If there was a bolt or a washer, we knew where it was. We had to know where it came from. So that's one of the way we did maintenance. That's the way we did our inspections. So anyway, we did a lot of that stuff. I don't know if we're still doing it, but we did. But anyway, after 23 years of having so much fun, I retired and thought, okay, this is 01. We opened California Adventure. I'm going to go up north and buy an electrical company and kind of just take it easy for a while. So we came up to Sacramento, and the state gave me a call and said, hey, we heard you retired from Disney. I said, yeah. He said, well, how would you like to train some of our inspectors or be an inspector? And I said, okay. I said, what's it pay? He says, not much, but, you know, you could really, and I got to thinking, yeah, they don't know what single point failure is. They don't know what Disney standards are. There's, you know, they don't know grounding, like I know grounding. There's a lot of issues that I could pass on if nothing else. So I went to work for the state, and I helped train some of the inspectors on the electrical issues of grounding, and all kinds of things. They help make decisions on where. Dan may argue this point, but the first year we said, okay, where? 50%. You can wear anything 50%, a seatbelt, a hook, whatever. But then in the next 2 years, we want to go to 60%. So we didn't give everything or didn't inspect for everything immediately. There were issues with lifts that the lift would run even though the brakes weren't up in the station, something like that. And we said, okay, we won't ask for that this year, but we're going to ask for that next year or 3 years down the road. So the whole issue of safety was kind of drawn out. So I stayed 3 years just to make sure I got in some of the stuff that I wanted to see because they wouldn't give it to me all at once. All right. So anyway, that was probably a good idea. That's one of the first the state ever had. I'm sorry. I hate doing this. The only time I do this and speak was during safety meetings at the park. We'd have 200 guys in there, and I'd have to buy 3 or 4 color TV sets and give them away in order to get them in the building.
I'll take one.
Sony, believe it or not, in like 95 or so, somewhere in there, Sony, I went to Sony and said, I need to get like 100% occupancy in this building twice in the year. So anyway, I said I'm going to need a bunch of color TVs, and I need to buy them as cheap as I can. So they went out and they gave me a price for a 32-inch Sony XBR, the nice one, picture in a picture, the whole bit, $300, brand new and okay. He says, how many do you want? I said, I want 12. So we gave away 12 color TVs one year, and we packed the house. That was really good. All right. Where? I left the state in '04. I figured I got pretty much everything I wanted to do done. When we first started doing the inspections, I was lucky enough to have the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth. So we debated on who was going to get the number 1, what ride's going to get the number 1 red or gold sticker for the state, which made no difference at all. You know, it's just something the state wasted time on doing. So we decided not the Carousel and Santa Cruz, but the Big Dipper, so anyway, the oldest coaster in the state. So the number 1 sticker got, my name's on it too, by the way. The number 1 sticker got the Big Dipper, and the number 2 sticker, the Carousel. And I fought for the other way around. I wanted to put the number 1 sticker on the Carousel. Who in the hell am I? Carousel problems. Okay, I want to go into grounding real quick here. When I was a state inspector, the first year we found 12 rides that were outside in the rain, that had 110 volt control systems, that the consoles weren't grounded or the foot switches weren't grounded. That's 12 possibilities of shocking you to operate. It's the first year. We also found 18 water park pump motors that the pecker had. I don't know why they call it a pecker. If anybody's got a better name for that, just let me know. The pecker head's got to be, the NEC, the National Electrical Code, says that the ground will be run with the conductors into the motor housing, okay, and it will be landed, bonded is the word they use, in that housing. So we found 18 motors that didn't have a ground in the pipe. The way instead of opening up all these pecker heads, all we had to do was open the disconnect, and if there was no ground going out, then it didn't pass that NEC regulation. So anyway, that's how we found those. 18 of them the first year. We still find some on occasion. After 4 years, I went independent, and I started doing rides for Six Flags. I started doing Legoland. Since I met these people during my tenure as a state inspector, and we put together a company called Safety Certified, and we tried to mediate a little bit between what the state wants and what was actually safe and sensible. And if I found something desperately wrong, then they had more leeway to work to get it done, to try to operate it or reduce capacity or whatever. I was more friendly than the state, that's all. That's one of the selling points for using me. And also, I was a little cheaper. My rate was $95 a ride for the QSI, and they were doing, spending 2 or 3 hours on a QSI at $125. So, but I tried for travel time, and they didn't. So, and they penalized me. I have to pay a $250 filing fee if I file a ride. So, kind of a toss-up, I guess. So anyway, that's well, pretty much what we found as a state. Of course, we found a lot of other things, but those grounds were a big issue. We had a large wave pool that the state called me out and said, Larry Martin, the state inspector, called me out and said, John, I know you know this better than I do. Everything looks good, but I want you to look at it. And that's the smartest thing Larry ever did, I think. I went out, and it was Cal Expo, actually. Wave pool at Cal Expo. I went out there, new motors, new cabinets, big ground dust, big grounds everywhere, all AC drives. It was really nice. So I looked at this huge cabinet, and I followed it back to the service entrance. The service entrance came in, it's all 483 phase, had 3 conductors in it. And it had this ring, this lock ring, no bushing. If there's no ground at that point, it needs to have a grounding bushing, but it didn't. But there was a big black mark, like this, where it had been arced. And it was open. We had 200 kids in that pool. And my stomach actually turned over. Oh, man. I didn't know what to do. Shut the ride down or what? And I grabbed the maintenance guy and I said, we got to shut the ride down and get these kids out of here. He said, well, they're coming out anyway because they're rusting. I said, okay, go down to the wholesaler, to the Gray Bar, right down the street. I have an account there. I said, use my account. He said, we got an account. I said, okay, go to Gray Bar, get some 1/0. 300 feet, we got to go from here to there, and we got to lay it on the ground. We got to get it in now, before we can open back. So we were down about an hour, but we got that ground in, and then later they put it in the pipe the way they should have. That scared the hell out of me. A big company just came in there and redid all their grounds, put in this huge cabinet, made all these wonderful changes. Would not even look at that end of the ground. It just scared me. Well, anyway, so much of that. Some of the problems with carousels were the leading edge going around. It had splinters or it had something to grab shoelaces with. We drug an operator, 20 feet or something like that, before the shoelace broke. I don't know. So that leading edge needs to be nice and smooth. We had a wheelchair around. It's a throw on the limit switch. You push it back in. You bring it out, and you try to start the ride, and it starts. We had one that came out 3 inches before it shut the ride down. That's the hysteresis in the switch. Or the length in the arm or whatever they were using at the time. But 3 inches. Whoever installed that didn't know what they were doing. If that thing came out 3 inches and come along and wiped out an operator, that would be. So anyway, we found things like that. Your name down here for some reason, I don't know. So anyway. When we inspect carousels and some of the rides we just inspect it for adults. Some we do adults and teenagers. Yeah. And we concentrate on just that age group because that's who's riding the ride. So little kids, 48 inches or below can't ride. But when we're doing a carousel or doing some small rides, we look at this inspection as a 3 or 4 year old would. What kind of damage a 3 or 4 year old would do, a 7 or 8 year old, an 11 or 14 year old, and then an adult. So there's 4 inspections going on, and you have to train your mind simultaneously to do all 4 inspections. And I'll tell you, I've done this. I inspected it for adults and thought, oh shoot, and went back and found things when I inspected it for kids. One of the biggest water parks in the state, not the biggest, but I hate to mention names. Legoland put in a new water park last year. I believe it was last year, year before last. So the city inspected it, the state inspected it, the county inspected it, the construction guys inspected it. They inspected this thing facility. Pete County is the director of maintenance. He came out and said, John, you're not going to find anything wrong with this. We ran it all summer. We made all these modifications. We had all these inspections. He said, just give it a cursory. I said, oh, okay. So I went out there and I told the maintenance guy, I says, pick a motor. So he picks number 3. So I said, open the packer head. There we go. So anyway, he opened the packer head, and I reach in and I went and grabbed the ground and went, came off of my hand. Now he's the one that picked the motor. I didn't. So anyway, I said, the code says bonded. This is obviously not bonded. We got to check them all. So anyway, that was number 1. Number 2 was the grate. And all these grates, they had about 200 grates. If you're an adult or even a 7-year-old, you're not going to get into that grate. But if you're a 3-year-old in shoes within thongs or something like that, you're going to get right into that grate. It had a really sharp little, did it, you know. I thought, man, I put my hand down there. Jeez, this sharp as glass. So I got to looking and all the grates were like that. So we had, I don't know how many grates we had to rip up and fix. You know, it was a grinding job and a smoothing job, but still, we still had to do it. We found a bunch of conduits, but they had indoor connectors on outside. They didn't have the push, you know, the compression. I had 200 or 300 items when I got done. So even though that park had been inspected by all these inspectors, everyone had their own agenda, and it was all adult. All these inspectors was looking at the park as it's going to be only used by an adult. Well, unfortunately, a lot of these rides are used by a lot smaller people. I was fortunate, well, my tenure as a safety manager, to have to go to WDI and become part of the Disney Roundtable. I was listed as an expert, and I got to sit at the table, but I didn't have my name in front of me. I had my expertise in front of me. I wasn't allowed to talk. All I was allowed to do was to answer questions. So if any of these creative people had a question for my discipline or someone else's discipline, then we could answer the question. But right before I retired, I stood up and said, look, can I talk? And they said, well, okay. So anyway, I've been going to that meeting for 3 years and wasn't able to talk. So anyway, silly. They talk about their grandmothers. Not that I have anything against grandmothers. So I said, look, we don't have kiddie rides. We opened Fantasyland. We opened Toontown. I was the owning manager for facilities. There's no kiddie rides. I mean, let's face it, Gadget's go coasters for adults. I even wanted to take anybody over 5 foot out of the line, but they wouldn't. Adults. Roger Rabbit, adults. Everything was adult. The little park was wasted space, you know, where you bounced around in some of the figures. So anyway, there was really nothing in Toontown that I thought a 4-year-old could ride, or a 3-year-old. And that's who Disney is, you know. So I got mad at the whole group and I said, you know, you've got to do something about this. This is bad. And they said, well, we're going to open 6 kiddie rides with California Adventure. So I said, okay, I'm going to hold you guys to it. So within a year, they had pushed that back 2 years. This world, we're not going to open with the kiddie rides, but we're going to open 2 years from now. We will have these kiddie rides. It's going to be themed, It's a Bug's Life. And so they shut me up for 2 more years, and they finally opened up some kiddie rides, and I went away. So anyway, that was that. But I think the amusement industry should focus on, I don't know the money is there or not, but I really like to inspect for kids. I like to make sure that the little kids are safe. And that's where my main focus is most of the time. Even though I'm a ride control expert, I know more about roller coasters than almost anybody in the country as far as control. It's just a lot of dead space in my brain, I think. So anyway, let's see. Oh yeah, one other quick thing. How are we doing on time? We're good? Okay. I was recently in Indonesia doing a large park. I stopped a mechanic who was walking around barefoot, and I said, "Can I look in your toolbox?" He says, "Sure." He opens it up. What do I find? I find tie wraps. Hundreds of tie wraps. Now, a tie wrap is not a UL-approved mounting device for anything. I love them for doing around the fluorescent lights. They're about the only thing they're good for. Put a couple of those around the fluorescent lights so it can't go anywhere. Okay, but you can't believe what they use them for. We've got rides that are doing this that are held together with tie wraps and baling wire. But outside of the tie wraps, he had baling wire and duct tape. He had channel locks, and he had crescent wrenches. Oh. I said, you could throw that whole thing away. He was barefoot for one thing. Indonesia, don't go there to ride with. It was in Jakarta. So I wrote him a big long letter about how to do maintenance, how to train for maintenance, I guess I should know. For God's sakes, if anybody doesn't know or doesn't think I know, then just sit down with me. We'll have a nice long talk. So anyway, the Indonesia thing is bad. I ran out of Home Depot the other day. They had a 1x4x15 going up this conduit at the checkout stand, and it was on with 4 tie wraps. And I told the lady, I said, that tie wraps are not a UL-approved mounting device for a 1x4x15. She says, oh. I said, well, just next time you go to a safety meeting, tell your boss, that should have some kind of support, UL-approved support. She says, oh, well, the safety meetings is they set us down in front of a monitor and they turn it on and that's it. Okay. So anyway, oh yes, Carousel, empty sockets, things that we put up in the carousels for Halloween and Christmas, and things that fall out and hit people, stuff like that. We all know. And even when they take the stuff down, the mounting stuff's still up there that falls down sometimes. Six Flags, Christmas, they staple Christmas lights to almost everything, queue lines, and then they rip them out, so they got all these really sharp staples sticking up. So I've been really mad the last 2 or 3 years that I did their part. I walk in and I dump all these staples in front of the director's desk and say, we gotta get rid of these. They stick your fingers. They're in the queue lines. I walk roar backwards, and that's for an old man like me, that's a good feat. But most of what I do is put nails back in and pull staples. I'm so busy pulling staples I can't really see what I'm looking at. So bad. Okay. Look for grade 2 hardware and stainless steel bolts on your rides. Can't have them. No stainless steel bolts. Santa Cruz. I was reading a maintenance log. It said, replace a 1-inch bolt on a tilt. A 1-inch bolt? There's no 1-inch bolts on a tilt. Oh, the center pin is a 1-inch bolt. It's a 1-inch grade 8 that the ride spins around on. Well, did they use stainless? Because they have a lot of stainless there because of the water and the ocean and all that other stuff. So I got to look. So I went around, I pulled all the caps. And the 4th cap I got to, a big stainless steel bolt sitting right there. Grade about 1.8. Thing would have snapped and the thing would have gone halfway out in the lake. Ocean, pardon me. So, yeah, but if I hadn't have seen it in the maintenance log, I'd have never checked it. That was bad. But maintenance logs do save lives sometimes, as long as the documentation is good enough to read. Okay. I'm done with that page. Pretty much got that through. In the early 80s, Space Mountain was shocking everybody when they reached down and touched the ride. So, and I think somebody used WD-40 on the track or something, but something caused it. So we went to a carbon impregnated brush behind each car that drags the track. You know, and I thought, you know, all we need to do is just drag the track in the station. We don't need to drag the track, you know, until an operator got shocked unloading people upstairs. We had to drag the whole track. So most of the rides, including Peter Pan. Peter Pan was my favorite ride. I loved it. I wanted to put AC drives on all the turns so we could make it feel like flight. I went to unbudgeted capital and said I need 50 grand to put AC drives on the turns to really make this thing feel like you're flying. And they said, what are you going to give us? You're going to give us a faster ride? I said, no, I'm going to enhance the ride. And they said, well, the line's 30 minutes long now. All you got to do is so they I wanted to clean the island after about 4 years since the big rehab. And it was just dirty, nasty, and I wanted somebody to clean it, custodial, anybody, animation. Nobody would clean this island. They said, oh, it's not my job. Well, there's a lot of issues about not my job at Disneyland because everything is union. So I came in at midnight one night, I cleaned up all the vegetation, I threw it in the corner, I scrubbed the island myself, dried it all off, cleaned the vegetation, put it back on. At 6 o'clock in the morning, I was done. I wanted it done, you know, and I guess I did it myself, but not my job syndrome is rampant on occasion. But sometimes you have to do it yourself. So any more questions?